All right, so the purpose of this video is going to be to compare a Kiesel Kyber to a Strandberg I owned for quite a while. And I did an earlier video on the Strandberg review kind of thing. You can look that up. I'll get into it a bit here again. But it's really, the idea is to compare the two. They are quite similar. Why I prefer one over the other, what issues I've had with both, if any, etc., etc. And again, these are not paid. No one gave me anything. Nobody asked me to say anything. This is about as honest as you're going to get. And I don't really, have any stake in either of these. So it sort of is what it is. I'm going to be as direct as I can be on this because I have no reason not to be. I've played for like 40 some odd years. I've played pretty much every guitar on the planet. So I do have back issues, which is why I would even consider playing a headless or lighter guitar. Both these guitars are fantastic for weight. They both weigh absolutely nothing. So like the headless Strandberg, I think weighed under 5 pounds. The Kiesel weighs around 5 pounds. So they're great for that. All right, so just to, make sure we're comparing apples to apples, the Strandberg was the Boden NX standard 6-string tremolo. And the Kiesel we're going to compare it to is a Kyber, one of the new headless Kybers. And they are quite similar. The only real difference was the Strandberg had 2 single coils, and the Kiesel has just a neck humbucker. That's the main difference. The Kiesel does not have fan frets, which is great because I find those, frankly, fairly useless. I'm not really sure why anybody cares about fan frets, honestly. They're annoying. You can adjust and get used to them like I did, but I failed to see the point there. Sorry. All right, and I'll just show you the guitar real quick, or at least the Kiesel. The Strandberg I no longer have. There is an older video I will link at the end of this where I did a review of it earlier on, a couple months back. I did end up selling it, so that tells you something, and I'll get into why toward the end of the video. But I'll try to keep it brief, basically. But for now, I'm going to show you the Kiesel. This is the Kyber. Cool looking guitar. No headstock. I don't even know what you call this neck, but it's a cool neck. Not really much to tell you about this. I mean, Kiesel, you can custom order everything, so it's kind of pointless to go through specs. And frankly, I'm an engineer and I was a session guy for years and years. I can make anything sound like anything, so I really don't care about pickups that much and that kind of stuff. I can kind of finagle anything out of any guitar. So, to me, this is kind of a heavy metal-ish guitar. Am I a heavy metal guitarist? No. Does it matter? No, not really. The things I don't like with the Kiesel, again, and these are just spec things you can change on their site. The fretboard's super flat. I think it's like a 16. I don't really need that personally, but I know why people like them, so that's cool. I'm not really a shreddery kind of guy. I used to be. I took lessons from Tony McAlpine when I was a kid, so I got some of that in me, but, I don't really do that anymore. Back in the 80s, maybe. It's also got 24 frets, so the frets get pretty narrow up here. I don't love that. I'd rather have 22 frets, but I didn't custom order it. I just bought it direct from Kiesel. Otherwise, the guitar has been great. It's been very stable. When I pick it up, it's ready to play. I really haven't had a ton of issues with it. It's, like I said, the pickups are pretty hot. It's like a metal-y guitar, but it doesn't really matter to me. I can figure that out. Trem system is really excellent, very smooth. I like the way it works. I use it quite a bit. And, for me, I'm looking for functionality. Like when I pick up the guitar, is it ready to play? And this really has been. I might have to touch up the tuning a little bit, but there's nothing too crazy about that. So I haven't really had to worry about it. It's generally ready to go when I pick it up and I want to do one of my little videos. So that's kind of the Kyber. So now we'll get into the Strandberg. And also the usual reminder, like and subscribe. I do improvised guitar videos. There's a bunch of them on my channel. Pretty sick of all the fake, quantized, edited to death guitar playing all over YouTube. I just play live, and if I screw up, I leave it. I don't really care if anybody likes it, doesn't like it. I do it to keep myself playing and throw them up there. So if you like that kind of stuff, or you like live music, or you like to see people take chances, feel free to check out my little jammy videos, because I really just wing it and I do like a take or two and I give up. So like and subscribe if you like that kind of stuff. There's other guitar content on there, blah, 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 etc., etc. Okay, so back to the guitars. So the main differences here are the Strandberg has the wacky neck and fan frets. Both of those things, I don't care one way or the other. You know, I got used to it on the Strandberg. I did use the Strandberg a lot. I have a record out called Withdrawn from Consideration, where I use the Strandberg on maybe two things. And, you know, when I got it out of the box, it played great and it sounded okay, so there's really no issue with it. You know, again, for me, it was all about the weight. I do not like playing sitting down. I stand up. I'm a little bit older. I got back issues. So, you know, the lighter guitars were a big help for that. So that's why I'm going the headless route. I mean, if I had a choice, would I play headless guitars? Yeah, probably not. It's cool that they're super light, basically. All right, so the Strandberg. Again, that was a, I have to read it here, Boden NX Standard 6-string Trem. Flows off the tongue. So this guitar, you know, you can look at my review I did earlier if you want to actually see it. I no longer own it. It played great out of the box. It sounds okay. I was able to use it again on my record I put out a couple months back. I really had no problems with it, and you know, the guitar over time basically started freaking out on me. Started buzzing pretty bad. You know, at one point the neck pretty much did a dive. So I basically took it back and forth to my guy multiple times for him to get it set up and playable again, and it would just freak out again. Now, granted, those guitars, they don't come with cases, and this was over the winter basically, so there was some temperature change issues, etc., etc. To me, that's still not much of an excuse for the amount of hassle I had with that guitar. It just went on, and I could never really get it set up and playing and stable enough to use it all the time. It was always buzzing somewhere, or the bridge was rattling, or this or that. I did end up getting it sent back to Strandberg, where they quote-unquote fixed it. And I appreciate them doing that, so thank you. It took probably 7 emails to make that happen, which I was not thrilled about, because it is a new guitar I bought with my own cash money. And, you know, I have other things to do with my life. I run a business. I can't be emailing and calling people 10 times to get something sent back for warranty repair, but that's kind of what happened. Like I said, at the end of the day, I ended up selling that guitar. You know, when it was playable, it was perfectly fine. I actually quite enjoyed it, but the playable aspect of it lasted about a month and a half. So was that a aberration or a one-off? Are they all like that? I know there's a lot of other info out there about Strandbergs you can look up yourself. You know, the guitars have a 0 fret, so, you know, my tech was complaining that there's not just a lot of room to work with. There's not a lot of room for it to whack out, basically, and start buzzing or doing this or doing that. Your mileage may vary. Again, you know, I didn't love the weird neck, but I adjusted to it. I don't love the fan frets. You know, all things being equal, if it would have been more stable, I'd still have it. So, you know, that's pretty much the capsule review. You know, I tried to find something as close as possible to the Strandberg to replace it with weight-wise and spec-wise, and that was the Kyber. And to date, the Kyber's been way more stable and has all the benefits of the Strandberg without the hassles. So I guess that's the capsule review right there. You know, again, you can go back and look at my previous review of the Strandberg in more detail. That was when I still owned it, but I did end up selling it. And, you know, just to reiterate, I did send it back to Strandberg. They did fix it before I sold it. They said the frets were uneven. Okay, well, it was a new guitar, so why are the frets uneven? You know what I mean? I didn't play it that much where there'd be fret wear. So, you know, like I said, to each their own. You know, I don't want to give a concrete opinion because I don't know that all Strandbergs have issues, and I've only had the one, right? So I'm just giving you my experience with both. To date, you know, I'm keeping the Kyber, so that's the review.